Being recorded.
Good morning, everybody. This webinar, thank you for attending the webinar. Today, Fausto is going to talk about the Blackboard assignment. Thank you.
Right. Hello, everybody. This is Fausto Pupo, Senior Educational Consultant, and we're going to be talking about how to create and set up assignments in Blackboard, okay, in Blackboard Ultra. All right. So, as always, the first thing you want to do, let's use one of these sample units on the template here, is go to the location where you want the new item to be created. Okay. And then once you locate the folder or the module in which you want the new element to be available, all you need to do is click on the exact position where you want it. It is very easy to tell which one is active because it is going to turn purple, as you can see here. Then just click on plus, then click on create. Let's give it a moment. There it is. As you can see, there are three categories. In a previous session, we looked at the first one, course content items. And here we have assessment instruments. And today we're going to focus on the second type, assignment. Okay, so now we have two different options. You can create one from scratch, and you can also automatically generate an assignment using the AI design assistant. Okay. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, one option is to, as you can see here, give it a name, and then use this box here in which you have all of the usual content editing options here. However, today we're going to let me show you the AI Design Assistant and how you can use it to create assignments. Now, every time you want to use the AI Design Assistant, you want to look for this icon here with the two little stars with 4 points, actually. Okay. Just to double check and confirm, you can see my screen, right? Yes, okay, thank you. All right, but this is very simple. As you can see, here you have content and settings, the content area on the left, settings that we will explore a bit later on today. On the right, your title here, the name here, and whether it is visible to students or not over here. From here, what I'm going to do is click on Auto Generate Assignment. And there are two ways in which you can prompt the AI in this case. One of them is by providing a description. Okay, it could be a description or a set of keywords, for example. Let's say something like personal finances. Okay. Or another alternative would be to select course items. Course items could be Ultra documents, files that you have uploaded, etc. Okay? So, first I'll show you how to do it with a description. Now, the more specific information you provide here, the better, of course. And then I'll show you how to do it when selecting some course materials as well. Another setting that's available is a desired cognitive level. Now, for this, as a reference, they use the four top levels of Benjamin Bloom's revised taxonomy. Create being the highest order thinking skill. Then you have evaluate and analyze. This is usually represented as a pyramid or a triangle, create being at the top, analyze, evaluate, and create, known as the higher order thinking skills. And at the base, you have remember, understand, and apply. Here, the options begin with apply because remember and understand are probably a bit too simple to be really usable for an assignment. So by default, you can leave it at inspire me and it is going to give you different options. Or if you want, you're thinking of a specific cognitive level, then you can go ahead and select one. I'm going to leave it at inspire me. As you can see, you can also adjust the complexity of the output. The default is always a little bit higher than the middle, but let's turn it up a little bit. Now, once you have generated the assignment, if you find that it is either too easy or too complex, you can adjust this and generate again. Sorry about my voice, I have a bit of a sore throat. Okay. Now, by default, this option here is enabled, so a title will be generated as well. And under advanced options, you can select the output language. What languages are available will depend on how your instance has been configured, okay? But of course, the default is going to be, as in this case, American English. Once you have chosen all the settings, all you need to do is click on Generate and give it a moment. First, it's going to, very good. Now, remember, please, this is auto-generated content, and of course, it needs to be checked for accuracy and bias. However, okay, as you can see here, it actually does a very good job when creating content. So here you have navigating financial choices, and as you can see, the target cognitive level here is evaluate. And for this, students have to create an infographic that outlines the key financial decisions that you've made, such as budget management, savings, etc. Be sure to include a section that evaluates the outcomes of these decisions. As you construct your infographic, utilize visual elements, such as charts, etc. Include references to any resources, okay? And consider incorporating a mock scenario. So as you can see, oh yeah, it definitely does. Then you have here creating a personal finance class. Here you have to develop a comprehensive personal finance plan tailored to their specific situation. I mean, to enhance your plan, create a mock scenario. Okay. You may also include a video presentation to explain your plan or a report that details the rationale behind your financial choices. So as you can see, it's not just papers. I mean, it could be an infographic, a role play, a case study, etc. Okay. Understanding financial well-being. Here they are to conduct an analysis of what financial well-being means for individuals. They want them to use a combination of methods, okay, to present your findings, create a discussion-based podcast or a video that shares insights and personal anecdotes. Additionally, you might include a leaflet that summarizes key points from your podcast or video. Oh yes, Marjorie, it does also generate a rubric, and I'll show that off in a moment. So let's choose one of these, the infographic or the podcast. Let's say the podcast. Okay, I'm going to select that one and I will click on Add. Okay, it's taking some time here to refresh. My connection seems to be a little slow today for some reason. Huh, that's funny. Okay, let's give it a moment. Sorry. Yes, you can edit the outcome, Marjorie. What's going on? Murphy's Law, I guess. Or is it my connection? Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Okay, because let me, something funny going on here. Oh, sorry about that. I had to, okay. So let's repeat the process. I'm sorry about that, but it looks like something happened to my connection. I'll repeat the same process. There you go. I should get my three options. Okay, of course, now I got a different set. But exploring financial goals through personal narratives, assessing financial literacy in your community, personal finance workshop. Well, let's go with this one here, evaluate. Now remember, if you don't like the options, okay, you can always click on generate again. Click on add. Okay, now it did it like rather quickly. So you're going to get those instructions right here. However, if you click on the little pencil, as you can see, you can edit anything you want. You can add, okay, to the text. You could embed a video, maybe. All you need to do is like click here and go to um, embed media or a YouTube video. Let's embed a YouTube video. I think my connection is not helping me. Okay. Let's. Okay, let's say this one, okay, just as an example. So as you can see, you can edit this in any way you need, okay? Including the text, adding things, touching files, embedding videos, inserting images. You have all the options that I showed you on the previous session. Let me copy these instructions because I'm going to need them in a moment. As you can see, you and your students can click on print also, okay, if they want an offline copy of the instructions. And now let's take a look at the settings. Just in Ultra, every time you want to see what settings are available for something, all you need to do is look for the little gear icon. And now we're going to look at each one of these elements here. Okay, to begin with the due date, there is an option for no due date. Let's say if this were a formative item, you would probably click there. However, we will select, say we'll give them until Friday by the end of the day. Sorry. Now, once you have a due date and time, you have a couple of options. You can prohibit late submissions and prohibit new attempts after the due date. The difference is that if you prohibit late submissions, any in-progress attempt at this time and date will be saved and submitted automatically. And if you select prohibit new attempts, it means that right after 11:59 p.m. on Friday, nobody will be able to submit anything. So normally I would prohibit late submissions, which will automatically enable the prohibit new attempts after the due date as well. Now, another option that is available is to allow class conversations. I guess I talked or mentioned class conversations last week when we're talking about Ultra documents. Remember, a class conversation basically looks and works like a discussion. It's not officially a discussion, it cannot be gradable, etc. However, it does provide students and you, okay, but primarily students, with a tool that they can use in order to ask and answer questions, share resources, cooperate with one another, etc. So, okay, I would normally, especially in the case of assignments, I think it's a good idea to allow class conversation. So they have a specific place to go when they have questions or when they want to share something. Now, here, okay, there is also an option for collect submissions offline. Basically, what it does, okay, I need to disable that first. You would use this one here if the assignment is not to be submitted through the platform, when it is something that they're going to hand in person, a physical copy, or maybe if the assignment includes a presentation and they're not going to be submitting anything, but you do want to have a column on the gradebook and the ability to set these as groups, for example, or use rubrics, etc. So remember, collect submissions offline basically gives you all the options of assignments, uh, which is a lot more practical than creating a column manually on the gradebook. We'll talk about that other option later, and then we'll come back to this one in order to offer you some contrast between those two options. Okay, let's go back to prohibit late submissions. One thing that is one of the many things I like a lot is when you're looking at the settings for something in Ultra and something is not available or active, it tells you why. So here you can't collect submissions offline because prohibit late submissions is turned on. So if I turn this off, now I could select collect submissions offline. But this will be submitted online. So, okay. Now, is this a summative or a formative tool? Okay, formative means that it's probably not going to have an impact on the student's grade, at least not a big impact. However, and it's more there in order for, I mean, to inform the process, the student about the process, how they're doing, for you to have an idea of how the process is going, etc. If you do select formative assessment, however, this will not automatically exclude this grade from any grade calculations. You would do that on the gradebook. So there's a spoiler alert there. But this is basically to enable or activate that filter. So if you want to focus on all formative assessments, then if you apply that filter, it'll show you those. And then also you by default, the formative label is visible to students, which is a good thing because in that way they have all the information they need, right? I'm going to leave it at formative, okay? There. Grading and submissions. The first element or option here is grade category. By default, it will be assignment. However, okay, it could also be homework, or it could be a presentation, or it could be any other category because in addition to the 10 standard grade categories in Ultra, you can create as many custom grade categories as you want from the gradebook options. Okay, so we're going to leave it at there was a question on the chat. I'm not really sure about the so what is the main reason to do it again? What does that refer to, please?
Hi, so it was about the formative assessment. While I was creating my
Ah,
assignments, it's just still not clear to me. Could you please verify it again?
formative assessment? Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, basically, there are two types. Well, there are more, but basically, there are two types of assessments, let's say formative and summative. Summative, as the name implies, indicates those assessment instruments that will be used to determine whether the student should pass the course or not. Okay? But then you have formative assessments. Formative assessments you are usually shorter. They are taken at intervals, like throughout the term or throughout the course. And the idea is to be able to, for the instructor to be able to tell how the class is doing without this having to necessarily impact their grades, and for students themselves to know what they might need to work on in order to stay on track. So these are assessments, usually not very big, not very long, usually take place several times during the course or during the term. And the idea is to inform, basically. So you could have, let's say, a midterm exam, a final exam, a project, and a graded discussion, and all of that could determine whether the student is promoted or not, or whether the student passes or not. But then you could also have like weekly quizzes that are not included in the overall grade calculation, but which will give everybody, students and you, an idea of what they might need to work on, what you may want to reinforce, etc. Does that help? All right. Okay. So grading and submissions, grade category, how many attempts? By default, it'll be one. However, okay, you can choose from 1 to 10 and then unlimited. Now, when you have more than one attempt, then you need to indicate how these attempts are going to be graded. Here I have two, for example. Okay, I could have selected any other number. So now I have this option here. Attempt to grade. Which one should be considered and therefore displayed on the gradebook? By default, it'll be the last one. So here it's pretty much assuming that if there are multiple attempts, maybe the first one could be formative in the sense that you give them feedback, and based on this feedback, the student makes a second attempt, which, okay, is, let's say, the final copy that you're going to grade. So that is a grade that will be displayed on the gradebook. However, there are other options. It could be also the first attempt, in which case the second attempt would be for maybe feedback, maybe reinforcement, etc. But then you also have all attempts, in which case you also get a few additional settings. So final grade calculation. If you're going to consider all attempts for the grades, how is this grade going to be calculated? So by default, it'll be the highest grade. So if students have like 2 or 3 attempts, this applies to tests also, of course, then it is the one with the highest grades that will be considered displayed in the gradebook and used for the overall grade calculation. However, you have additional options. It could be the average of all attempts, or it could even be the lowest, which probably would not encourage students to give it a second try since they can only go down from where they are. So the most popular, probably, as you could probably imagine, is the highest grade. Now they have 2 opportunities, and the highest grade, that's what's going to be considered. How do you want to grade the assignment? So should it be using points, or do you want to use a different grade schema? Could be as a percentage, letters, or any custom grade schemas that you might have. Okay, sorry. Normally, you would leave it at points. That's what most people use. And then you manually enter the number of points, a maximum number of points possible. Okay, then we have a few additional options. As you can see, you have the ability to grade students' work anonymously without knowing whose work you are currently grading. Right now, it is not active or available because you can't hide student names for an assessment with class conversations. Of course, that would sort of reveal, okay, student's identity here. So if I disable class conversations, boom, now I could hide student's name during the grading process, okay? Then I will not be able to see or know whose work I am working on currently until all submissions have been posted, have been graded, and all grades have been posted. I also have the ability to have 2 graders per student. Okay, in some institutions, this is also a policy. In this case, however, you would need to have at least 2 people enrolled in your course with the role of grader. Okay, and in that case, they can grade the student's work individually, I mean, each one of them, and if there is a difference, then you, the instructor, would be the reconciler. Okay, you get to decide what the final grade should be. Also, I wish I had had this 30 years ago when I was teaching writing academic English, and there was lots of peer review among students. Peer review, you can't turn on peer review right now for an assessment with multiple attempts because you need one specific attempt submission for students to work on. So let's switch it to one attempt. Peer review, you can't turn on peer review when prohibit late submissions is turned on. Okay, you see, it always tells you if something is not working, why it is not working. Okay, now I have peer review available. If I click on it, I now get, okay, the ability to select the settings for peer review. By default, you get 3 reviews per student. That means that each student will be reviewing 3 of their classmates' submissions, and they will in turn have their submissions reviewed by 3 different peers. That could be a little too much for some students, so I would say 2. Okay. And this will be of course, completely random, right? And if in doubt, remember all you need to do is hover over the information icon. And as you can see here, reviewers are assigned automatically and randomly. Late submissions are incorporated into the review process if unassigned reviewers remain. So now you have the initial assessment due date, and then you have the peer review due date. So let's give them a couple days. Oh, here. Oh, there's something on the chat. I would like students from Alex. I would like students in the group to grade each other's contribution. Is there a way to enable this? Not yet. Okay, the grading is only done by the instructor. However, I know that such a feature has been requested in the past. There are, for instance, institutions that okay, so there are two kinds of requests. One of them is that they can grade formatively, of course, each other's work, and another with specific assignments. Another one would be with portfolios. So my recommendation, because it sounds like a really good thing to have, my recommendation would be to take a look at the idea exchange site, see if it's been requested, and vote for it and get other people to vote for it. And if not, you may want to request it yourself, because that is where developers get their ideas and priorities for Ultra. And then from Mark, it says that you have an unstable network connection. I'm connected through Ethernet.
I have no problem with your presentation.
Oh, okay.
The Mark's internet.
Okay, can the institution turn on anonymous grading for all summative assignments globally? No, this is something that you enable for each specific assessment because instructors are likely to have different types of assignments in their courses. So that is not something that you can set for every formative assignment on each course. Okay, for a group project. Okay, that was the first question. And it said they can review each other's work, they can provide each other feedback, and of course, they could assign a formative grade. However, that would not be reflected on the gradebook since only the instructor has access to what happens on the gradebook. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is why that is why probably it is not something that you can set up for like in all courses, no? You have the flexibility. All right, let's continue. So when you enable peer review, okay, you have the original due date and then the peer review due date. Once you're done with the settings, don't forget to save those settings. Okay, we're here. There is also, okay, you also have the ability to enable delegated grading. Okay, when and I've seen this in some institutions when the instructor in charge of the course or the class grade does not grade their own students but somebody else's students and so forth. Okay, or maybe you have a very large class and you have some assistant professors that also help you with the grading. So, but here, no, you can't turn on delegated grading because peer review is turned on. So it's one or the other. Assessment grade. Okay, grades need to be posted in order for students to be able to see them. For tests, the default is that grades are posted automatically. However, you can, of course, turn that off if you prefer to post them manually. And for assignments, the default is that grades are to be posted manually. So you decide when to post the grades. However, you can change that from here if you want. Okay, as soon as you finish grading something, the grade will be visible to the student. Assessment security. You can generate an access code, which is basically a password, as you can see. Then you can copy it and share it with your students. And once they have accessed, you can change it so it's no longer valid. I mean, if they're already on, then no problem. So whenever you need extra security, okay, you can enable the access codes. Location restriction, if, okay, your institution wanted to use this, then you would need to coordinate that with your IT department because it does have some technical settings that need to be configured, like the IP location or locations from which students can connect. Okay, but remember that's something that is not used that often, and when it is, it needs to be coordinated with your IT department. Time limit. Okay, this option is intended for tests and quizzes. Okay, you could have, okay, you could have I mean, if you want students to have a limited amount of time to complete the assignment and submit it, then you could enable time limit. However, as you can see here, I can't set a time limit because peer review is turned on. So I will have to turn that one off there. Use grading rubric. Okay, so let's click on Add Grading Rubric. And now you have a few options. If you all have already created or generated or copied or imported rubrics, they would appear here. You can also create one from scratch. And if you do, okay, you have by default 4 levels. You can edit the names. As you can see, all you need to do is click on the little pencil. You can add more levels. You can delete levels. And you have 4 criteria, but of course you can add as many as you want. And you can, of course, also delete by clicking on the little trash can icon. And then, as you can see, in order to provide a description for each level, for each criterion, all you need to do is click on the little pencil. You can change the ways, and of course you should provide. Is this the same as regular Blackboard? The only difference with the Blackboard original is that normally the highest level there is on the right. So it would be like excellent, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and poor. But that is just like the look and feel. And they're mutually compatible. So you can import or copy a rubric that you have on an Learn Original course onto Learn Ultra, and it's perfectly usable. Stephen. Now, You can also, okay, regarding question types or rubric types. So rubric type, you have percentage, percentage range, points, points range, and no points. However, I'm not going to make one from scratch. I'm going to use the AI design assistant to generate a rubric for these, okay, for this assignment. Click on generate. Sorry. I need the description here, so okay, I need to use this as a prompt. Okay. Generate. In the description, I will paste, okay, the instructions that I give to students. I select the rubric type, the level of complexity. Let's make it a little higher. I can generate up to 5 columns. 4 is the default, and up to 7 rows. We have a lot of information of instructions here, so let's generate 7 rows and then click generate. Okay, so as you can see here, under criteria, you have quality of data collected, depth of analysis, clarity of infographic, creativity and originality, writing quality of report, engagement with community, and recommendations for improvement. As you can see, it covers all the bases. So the descriptions also are very specific, like regarding quality of data collected, the student conducted comprehensive interviews gathering details and insightful perspectives on financial literacy from a diverse group of individuals. That would be exceptional versus proficient, the student collected sufficient data from a variety of respondents with some attention to detail in their responses. And as you can see, okay, it gives you very, very detailed and clear descriptions for each level of each criterion in the rubric. Of course, you can edit anything you want. All you need to do is click on continue. And now, okay, you can click on the little pencil icon and it'll be ready for you to use. So under rubric type, percentage is okay. Let's give it a name. And for the name, it should be what? Oh yeah, personal. Okay. Let's save that one. There's a question here for an assignment such as a research paper or a particular topic. Is there an option for AI review or grading? Not yet, but I'm sure they're working on that. Right now, the application uses an applications of the AI design assistant, which I'm going to be demoing from time to time. Okay, actually on each one of our sessions, include the ability to generate rubrics, of course, assignments, um, discussions, learning journals, images, also a layout for Ultra documents. And they're advancing toward in that direction to help you create content, etc. But or maybe with grading, but it's not quite there yet. Oh yes, William, you can edit. You can edit all the different values there. So, and the names, no? If you want to use satisfactory or something else. Everything is editable when you generate content with using the AI design assistant. Okay, so once it's been generated and saved, after you review it, all you need to do is click on Add. Here you have goals and standards if your institution is using those. You could also assign them to groups, but we don't have any. Let me see. From here, all you need to do is click Assign to Groups. Let's wait a moment. There you go. And then you can go ahead and create a group or select one that has been created before. Okay, I don't have any mock students here yet, but for the next session, I'll show you how to configure that. Okay. Then you also have the originality report, Safe Assign, which will help you check whether students used outside sources. So here, all you need to do is enable it, and then allow students to view the Safe Assign originality report for their attempts. Okay, save, and you're good to go. Okay. And then, of course, you have a description field, okay? And it is, as I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned last week, it is always a good idea to provide a description of the different items. Yes, 2 or 3 lines of text. Remember, limited to 750 characters. You save it. Okay, let's save the content here. Let's make it visible to show you what it looks like, okay, for a student and what the grading process looks like. Okay, so this is visible to students. Where did I put it? Is it here? I think it was number 3. Yeah, it's right here, Unit 2. So let's make Unit 2 is visible to students. Perfect. I'll go into student preview mode. Unit 2. And here is the assignment. When a student clicks on it, they can see all the details and information, and then they can click here to view the instructions. From there, okay, they can check out the instructions, including the video that was embedded. They can preview, okay, the rubric. So they know what is being expected of them. And then they can drag and drop the file with their submission here, okay? Whether it's a link to an online video or a PDF or Word document or an infographic, etc., okay, they can put it here. So now I'm going to simulate. I'm just going to attach a file. Just a second here. Okay, here I have a. Okay, I know it's not related as a topic, but just as a functional example. I'll submit that. I can, okay. Sorry about the Spanish, but my browser knows that I am located in Latin America. So as you can see, okay, this is the students have the ability to preview everything, then submit, confirm, and they even get a receipt with a confirmation number, which they can download and save as a text document They also get an email copy of this. Now I'm going to exit and save. Oh yeah, it's possible to for the students to upload multiple files, Alex. So, okay. As an instructor, I click here. I see I have a new submission. I click on the submission tab. Originality. It's terrible, of course, because I had already used this very same file for a different example, for a different demo, sorry. Okay, I have one attempt to grade. And you'll be happy to see that this is the exact same tool that you have already been using in Ultra. Okay, you can annotate, use the sticky notes, download. Everything that you used to do in original, it's the exact same tool here. All right, so you can see the instructions here. And this is what the student submitted. Is a 100% coincidence with the originality report because I had already used the very same file. So as you can see, okay, here I can provide feedback. Feedback could also be recorded as a video, okay. Then, let me show you how to do that. I could write my feedback here or click on there. You can see. There I am. And there's my stereo over there. Okay, so if you want to give feedback, just start recording. You have 3 seconds to get ready and then up to 5 minutes to record your feedback. You can pause at any time and then continue if you wanted to go over your notes, etc. Then once you finish, just click on stop recording. You can get 3 seconds to get ready and then up to 5 minutes. And if you like it, you can save and exit. If you don't, you can delete it and go for take 2. I'll save it. Also, the video will automatically generate or include closed captions. Okay. Okay. Can the rubric scores for the student be included in the rubric scores for the student be included where, Marjorie?
On your grading feedback, can you,
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me show you. So I'm going to save the changes here. Even though I have a short condensed version of the rubrics. Okay, I can also, as an instructor, click here with a grading rubric. I have this icon here to expand it. And now I can use it in full screen mode. Okay, so from here, simply, okay, you can grade students' work. And now, if you want to provide specific feedback on a specific criterion, like this one, in which it was pretty low, then all you need to do is click the criteria feedback. So you have all feedback for students, and then you have criterion specific feedback, okay, on for each criterion. Now we have the rubric. Okay, here this is like a preview of the descriptions, or if you want to see the whole thing. So once you finish grading, okay, don't forget to save, close. And this is what I get, okay? Now, as you can see, for each, oh, I didn't give him a grade for this. I guess I forgot. Okay, that's better. Okay, so as you can see, I can see, okay, the grade for each criterion and whether, okay, feedback has been enabled. And then all I need to do is click on the three dots up here, okay, to post that grade and thus make it visible to the student. Now the student, when they see their grades, let me show you what they see. Okay, a student can view the submission. The grade is available already. And if there have been any comments written by the instructor, the student will be able to see them here. Also will have access to the feedback and can see the grades and the feedback provided for each criterion as well. Okay. And it's almost time to finish. So we have any last question maybe?
Yeah, Fausto, I have a question. You mentioned something earlier about a podcast, and is there a podcast tool in Ultra that you could record, like, say, a 30-minute podcast?
Not right now.
Okay.
So you would want to use some third-party app maybe or tool. You can right now you can record feedback and announcements for up to 5 minutes, but that's
Okay.
the only one available.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, there is another tool, but it's an additional service, okay, which allows you to record audio and video. I mean, like, but this doesn't come standard with the platform. I think it's something additional that needs to be requested by the institution, maybe.
Yeah, because I teach online classes, and the podcast thing makes for a much better class if
Hmm.
you can give them a weekly summary of what's going on by voice. It connects you a little bit to them
Yeah.
rather.
As I
rather
said, I mean, the tool exists. It's this one, but it's not a standard tool. It needs to be requested, I guess, by the institution.
well, I'll deal with it. I'll see if
Sorry, first, so we have one more question, and
Sure.
one I'm not sure if you already have answered from Elena, but she asked, can the institution turn on anonymous grading for all summative assignments globally?
Oh, no, we already discussed that one. No, it's not possible.
It's not possible. Okay, and then there is a Sal's question.
Yes. And then I have the last question here is the only I have been working in Ultra for 2 years, and you all will be amazed at the depth and personalization of this platform. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for. Oh, Sal has a question. The other day you talked about badges. My question is, if a student earns several badges, is it possible to give them a grade based on the number of badges? I am afraid not, because whether they get, okay, they earn badges based on their grades on assignments, tests, quizzes, etc. So it's the other way around. Right now, there isn't a way to do that automatically, at least.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And Alex, you shared a link to how to generate a podcast using PowerPoint. And that is a good option, actually, because you can insert yourself in the presentation, etc. Well, I am afraid we have run out of time today.
Thank
And
you much. Thank you very much, Fausto. So,
Thank you.
so we are looking forward to our next webinar.
yes, me too.